Good morning, Vikings. So let's have a look at firmware and how to flash the board. So I just re-uploaded the firmware for Marlin 1.1.9. So if you have an older version, there might be some changes. So let's do those changes. And go to general files on GitHub in the Viking repository, and I added the zip file here now, so it's easier to download if you don't have the client. So let's just download this, and yeah, let's just get rid of this one. This one. So, yep. Okay. So that's downloaded, and let's just extract somewhere. If you do have the client, let me just walk you through that. If you do have the client and you cloned the repository, you can just open it, everything here, and then you can just walk right into the Marlin folder and do everything from here. If you don't have the client, then download the zip file. So here we go, and go into the Marlin folder, and here are all the headers. So we are only going to talk about the configuration and the configuration advanced, and you can modify those in Notepad if you want to, but it's not needed. So whatever makes you comfortable. I'm gonna do this directly in Arduino. So if you don't have Arduino, then go to the store, Microsoft Store on your computer, if you have a computer, and just type in IDE and you will find Arduino and just install it. And then let's walk down to marlin.ino. So this is what we want to open in Arduino. So here we go, and here are all the headers. So we're going to talk about the config H and the config advanced. So I'm going to walk you through what my settings are or supposed to be, and you need to make sure that you have your settings. I'm going to talk about what you can change and so on. So if you downloaded this just recently, you might need to change the motherboard first of all, because this is the right motherboard I have. If you have another motherboard, then change this. This recently was set to MKS Gen N 1.3 because I was messing around with something as per usual. So change this to whatever board you have. Okay? If you want to change the name on the display, you can do that here. Then just walk down, nothing here for us. Then we come to the thermal settings, and these are tables. So for the V6, the original V6 Hotend sensor, we use table 5. The Semitech 104. And if you have a NTC 3950, which is on the V6 clones from China, then you use table 11, this one, as I do for the bed sensor. I use table 11. So change these guys if you have something else according to these tables. Okay, let's walk down. So I did a manual PID on my Hotend, so you might want to do your own if this does not work. It should work for most V6 Hotends, but or else do your own PID tuning. Same for the bed. I activated PID bed, and I have this configuration for the bed PID, which works with the silicon heater I have in the bill of materials. Or else do your own PID tuning. Okay, let's walk down. CoreXY is defined. Here's me, the end stops. I use X mean, Y mean, and Z mean. If you have other setups, then change it here. So we come down to the drivers, and for the setup I run now, I have TMC standalone on X driver type and Y driver type. So change these according to this table here if you have something else. For the C, I currently use DRV8825 as I do on E, on the extruder. So you can use Allegro drivers, these guys. If nothing is defined in these lines, then it's assumed you have Allegro driver. So make sure you have the right driver set. Or nothing, you can just uncomment these guys if you have Allegro drives. And of course, make sure your jumpers are set according to the driver type you use on the board. So we come down to this line, which is important. So for 16 microstepping, we use 80 millimeter per 80 steps per millimeter and 3200 on the C. And for extruder, you need to calibrate. I can do that in another video. 400 is for a Titan, original Titan. I used a clown for a while, and I had to use 450 on the clown, so this varies. If you don't have a geared extruder, it's totally different. So calibrate this guy. And yeah, there's no reason to run faster than 200, so I set 200 for max. If you want to like test your limits, then increase these guys. Max acceleration, yeah, I set to 2000. It could also be, you know, tuned up to 3000 if we want to try the limits, but this is what I have now, and I only run 1500 for X and Y, as I have tested 2000, but the TMC drivers don't like 2000. They tend to skip a little bit, so 1500 I find is a sweet spot for X and Y acceleration. 3000 for the extruder. And travel, you could go 2000 here, but yeah, whatever, then not important. And for jerk, I just set 15, and for extruder jerk, you could maybe go higher, like 10 or 15. It's set to 5, as in per standard in Marlin. Yeah, and here we have S-curve acceleration. I don't have this activated, as I'm not sure how this works. This is something new in Marlin 1.1.9, so read up on it and test it if you want to. It's now not activated at this point. So we use the probe as a set mean end stop. That's standard, I think, in Marlin. And I activated BL touch. So if you don't have the BL touch, you could deactivate this or just have it activated and use the end stops as it works with the end stop as well. And for offset, for the BL touch offset, there's 26 on the X, 0 on the Y, and you need to figure out the Z offset, but I set it to 1.2. It might be 1.3, might be 1.4, something around these numbers. Yeah. So let's walk down. And we are coming to stepper direction. I have no idea if these are set the right way. You need to figure that out by running your axis and see if you either want to change the direction, change the cables, or just change this configuration here from false to true and from true to false, or whatever fits your cable arrangement. So as I have different cables and yeah, I played around with different things, this might be different from what you have. Okay, so that's the stepper direction. Figure that out. Same for the extruder. It depends on your cable, so figure that out. I set this to true, which was I'm not sure if it's right with your config. So homing, I set X bud size to 340, X Y size to 380, and X C to 300. If you want to test your limits, you can increase the C to 330 maybe. And what's it called in English? Yeah, I deactivated this line, which makes sure that you can actually move the Z-axis in a negative position. This is both good and bad, but it's needed to calibrate your Z offset. So that's why if you don't use a probe, if you don't use the BL touch, then you can activate this by getting rid of these guys, and then you will never travel below sub-zero. And yeah, also have the filament runout sensor activated, which I don't use, but it can still be activated if I want to add one. And for the auto bed leveling, if you don't have a straight board, then use bilinear, not linear. I have a tooling plate, so I use linear, or else you should use, if you print on a glass, linear should be good. If you don't have a glass, if you have some sort of sheet on top which is not straight, then you should use bilinear. Okay. Currently activated is linear. So let's walk down. I'm only probing 3 points at this point with in the auto bed leveling because well, yeah, I don't want it to take too long. You can go up to 5. If I would change it, I would go to 5, not 4. But yeah, you decide. I don't use auto bed leveling much recently because yeah, it's not needed. If you have a straight bed, there's no need for it. And what we have, so safe homing is activated, EEPROM settings activated, nozzle part feature activated. This is for pausing changing filament using M600. And print counter is activated. So you can see how many hours you have run. And depending on your encoder on your LCD screen, this might be different than encoder direction. You will figure that out when you try to turn the knob. So also here we come to the LCD panels. So if you have another LCD panel than I use the RepRap full discount. Full. It's down here at line 1640. So I just activated this line. If you have another controller, then deactivate this line by doing these guys and activate your whatever you have. Okay. Sorry for my English. I'm tired this morning. That's all in config H. Fast and furious. Let's go to the advanced header. So for the advanced header, there's not much I do. There is the fan. I use the Hotend fan. I pinned to pin 7. So I use pin 7 as a Hotend fan controller, which makes sure that the Hotend fan does not turn on before it reaches 50 degrees. So it's not always on. If you want to have it always on, then leave this to -1, like that. Okay. So there's not so much more. I just want to find, baby stepping. Actually, in this configuration, I don't have SD card enabled. So if you want to print from a SD card, you need to figure that out yourself, because I don't even remember how to do it anymore. I just use Octoprint all the time. Here's baby stepping, which is activated, which means you can double click your LCD panel knob to get baby stepping when you run the brim. So you can live adjust C offset, which is very nice. Okay. And I don't do linear advanced. That's not for me. That's more for the advanced people. And let's see. Yeah, so I also activated the advanced pause feature, which makes you use M600 for changing filament, which is very nice to have. And that's all. I'm not going to talk about these current settings and whatever, because I don't use it, as I have the standalone mode for the TMC drivers. So just a quick look down below. I might have forgotten something. I don't think so. So basically that's it. And when you have done all these steps, if you want to change any, if you have the same setup as me, just don't do anything. but you might want to just re-download the zip file, because yeah, there was something messy with the driver setup, and the board was wrong. So main board, yeah. And when you have all these guys, these steps done, then make sure you have include library, and you want to include this guy for the LCD controller, U8glib. If you don't have it, you also want to have this one, TMC208 stepper. So if you don't have them, go to manage libraries, and then you just search here for U8glib, and you will find it here, and then you can hit install. If it's not installed, then hit install. The same for 2208. Just install, and you are good to go. You might also want to do, after installing them, just go to include library and actually include them. Then they will show up in the top of your configuration header as a line. I can do that just to show you. Sketch, include library, and U8glib, like this. You only need to do this one time. When you've done this one time, there's no need to do it anymore. Okay. So that's it, and let's have a look at boards. So for the Arduino Atmega board, you need to make sure that we have this one chosen in the board manager, and the processor should be this guy. And then you of course need to compile everything. I'm not going to do that now because it takes a while. And make sure you connect your computer to the controller board by the right port. You can see if you have the right port by getting board info, and it should show up. If it don't show up, you have the wrong port. So after doing that, then just hit upload, and you're good to go. So I hope this was helpful. Okay, Vikings, go make something.